If your podcast clips don't look like you, don't feel like your brand, they're not doing their job. Fix this and you can convert a casual scroller into somebody that recognizes your brand. I'll show you the exact branding techniques that I've used at Disney, NFL, and Meta, and how we can implement these techniques into a podcast clip for you so that your podcast feels like an extension of your brand. All right, let's jump into it. Okay, so right here, I'm seeing a jump cut, a cut right here in the middle. It's unnecessary. It breaks up the flow. So let's see what we can do to smooth this out. So let's jump in and zoom into this second clip by about 50%. Bring him back up, move him over so he's centered a little bit. And let's see what we got here. So let's play through.
Studying spirituality and meditating all day.
And in case you were wondering, yes, that is Dan Koe. I worked on a project with a client recently where their podcast guest was Dan. So let's get back into it. Okay, so now what if we're watching this and it's on mute? Because 92% of people watching on Meta platforms are watching on mute. So if you're not using captions, you're losing up to 92% of viewers. So let's throw some captions on here. We all know these yellow captions with the black stroke. It looks like Alex Hormozy. Does that sound cool? Maybe, but is that cool? No. Because we've seen this a million times, and our goal is to not look like the rest of the internet. Our goal is to look like ourselves, to look like your brand. So let's not do this, and instead, let's find out what is this brand's color? What is this brand's font? And let's bring those into this podcast clip so that it matches exactly what the brand does at every other touch point to make that subconscious consistency work for us so that we look and feel like ourselves. That's what you see here. Now, what we see is exactly the same stylistic aesthetic that you would see with this brand at any other touch point that they communicate in all their channels. Now it's coming through the podcast clip. Great. Well, now we've watched this whole clip. We get to the end and we have a black screen. So which of these two clips do you think has a better chance of making somebody click through to an actionable step? A black screen or a call to action? Anyone who makes it to the end of a podcast clip is somebody who has a real chance of having interest, right? And so we want to give those people who have stuck with us to the end a chance to take another step. Is it going to work every time? No. Is it going to work sometimes? Yes. We're after that sometimes. So let's bring on a call to action end graphic. This graphic is going to tell us the next step that we want someone to take. How do we watch the full episode? It's here on YouTube. Some logical, simple steps. It can be 1, 2, or 3 things. The fewer, the better. So the last thing I'd love to do with this call to action graphic is I'd love to bring on some beautiful animation that shows and tells people watching what this brand feels like, how this brand moves. So every chance we've got, we just want to turn that dial a little bit to say, hey, this is what we do. But we're here to take every chance we can to elevate our brand, to make that touch point with a potential client, to give us a higher perceived value. Now, lastly, we've answered what this brand feels like. We've answered what this brand moves like. Let's bring in one final element into how this brand sounds. This is really going to tie it all together. So we're going to bring in a sound effect that's going to motivate on that animation of that end graphic. It's going to signal there's a change here. And if there is a passive casual listener, that little sound effect can do something for us. It's going to come on ever so slightly right before this graphic is so that it motivates that on, and voila, now we have our final product.
But it's also designed and oriented towards this lifestyle that provides you the opportunity for proper rest.
Yeah.
To recap everything we've done. First off, we removed all jump cuts. 2, we added captions. Captions do 2 things for us. 1, they help that 92% that are watching on mute understand what's going on and let us capture so much more of a potential audience. And 2, those captions can look like your brand and feel like your brand by using your brand's color and your brand's font. Then we added a call to action so that our video doesn't simply just end or loop. It takes somebody who's decided to watch this whole entire video and gives them a next step if they feel so inclined. Lastly, we brought in branded animation with that final element, which was a sound effect to bring it all together. If you're interested in learning more about how your podcast can be more premium and embody your brand more, like, comment, subscribe. join the channel, and we're going to be going over how big brands do small things that you can implement to make your podcast follow those same protocols and methods that the top dogs do out there. Lastly, leave a comment. Let me know if you think this is worth it. Let me know if you think this makes the podcast feel more professional. Thanks for watching, and remember that every podcast clip that you put out on the internet is an opportunity to showcase your brand, so make it count. And if you want your podcast to look more premium, you need some help with that, reach out to us here at Cut the Pod. This is what I do, and I want to help your podcast look the part. So reach out. Talk soon.